My feelings about Balatro are all over the place. Now don't get me wrong, I love this game with every fiber of my being. That much is clear if you look at my profile data. But as a game designer who has pitched a poker roguelike to several studio leads in the past and was always told, hey, that sounds neat, but we're going to go with something a little more proven instead, seeing this game blow up leaves me with a funny feeling. In one way, I'm jaded. Someone else beat me to the punch. But, simultaneously, my design instincts are also vindicated. I'm vindicated. I mean, who could have predicted that taking a game with widespread cultural familiarity like poker and combining it with the captivating game loop and replayability of a progressive roguelike had the potential to be a massive hit? Now, I have no way of proving that I really did conceive something pretty similar to Balatro, or rather I do, but I don't want to dox myself or potentially run afoul of an NDA, so you'll just have to take my word on this. Or, better yet, don't. It's actually quite healthy to be skeptical of things you hear here on YouTube.com or on the greater World Wide Web as well. But anyway, Balatro. Why is this game so darn good? And why is it the first poker roguelike to blow up commercially? If you're unfamiliar, there have been similar games over the years, all trying some variation of a poker roguelike. Titles such as Poker Quest, Aces and Adventures, and Zoetti, just to name a few off the top of the dome. Was it just a case of right time, right place that catapulted Balatro to a place of prominence then, where we're already seeing the emergence of Balatro-likes? Well, I don't think so. It took me some time, but I've pieced together a hypothesis about what makes a good roguelike, and why Balatro is a near-perfect example of one. To understand what makes a good roguelike, we need to think of the roguelike as a language. Let's start simple. What are our nouns and verbs in this game? Talking about a game's verbs is pretty common game design parlance. What can the player do? Here, Balatro is very wise to keep our set of verbs to a minimum. For the moment, let's focus on the core of the game, playing a blind. Two of these verbs are always shown right here on screen: play hand and discard. There's a couple other verbs available to a player who has jokers or consumables. Those verbs would be sell and use. Other than that, we have a very understated but monumentally important verb that is reordering our cards and jokers. So, for the most part, our verbs are pretty limited and mostly straightforward. Now let's talk nouns. In this case, it's usually a standard deck of 52 playing cards, 4 suits with 13 ranks each. Obvious exceptions with the abandoned, checkered, and erratic decks. Each turn we have a pool of 8 playing cards from which we can select 1 to 5 of those cards to either play or discard. Depending on the combination of cards we choose to play, we create different semantics, aka poker hands, like straight flushes, 3 of kinds, full houses, etc. Each blind we have an increasing score target to hit and a limited number of turns to do so. This makes the player's core objective to put together the best poker hands they can in those turns. Notice the pluralization there. Sometimes it's best to play a weaker hand now to set up a potentially much better one in a later turn. One perhaps underappreciated feature here is Balatro's card tracker, which can really help you figure out your odds. I find this ability to mitigate randomness to be a crucial balancing aspect for roguelikes, and here the widely understood language of poker hands in a 52 card deck makes Balatro very approachable in this regard. So this limited set of nouns and verbs forms a very solid gameplay foundation, and boy howdy, Balatro builds upon this in a spectacular way. Following our nouns and verbs, our next aspect of a roguelike language are adverbs. Words that modify and enhance how our verbs work. Allow me to introduce you to the stars of the show, Balatro's 150 unique jokers. That's an impressive number for sure, but in this language analogy, I don't think it's necessarily the size of its dictionary or the number of options available that make a roguelike good. Rather, the most important factor of a good roguelike language is how expressive it is, how completely its array of options covers all gameplay facets and possible situations. This is where Balatro's jokers shine. There's a joker for practically every verb in the game, including some of the others that I've omitted so far, like buying things in the shop or the skip blind mechanic. We of course have jokers tied to specific poker hands, either enhancing their score or making them easier to form, like Smear Joker for flushes or Shortcut for straights. Other jokers influence buying, selling, discarding, using, and destroying cards. Another entire category of jokers involves money, either helping the player generate more moolah or getting stronger as the player gets richer. Or one of my absolute faves, Vagabond, which generates tarot cards for players strapped for cash. Now, having more jokers obviously makes it easier to get the all-important coverage I speak of. And on this front, Balatro is an excellent example. But what's also an essential bit of spice for a roguelike is how these elements interact with one another, or what we in the game design biz call emergence. It's incredibly fun to look over a couple of options, say to yourself, hey, I bet these 2 or 3 work really well together, and lo and behold, they do. On the flip side, getting surprised by a bizarre but logical intersection of the game's various rules can be similarly delightful. That's the magic of emergent gameplay. In regards to our language metaphor, this means we can create a lot of complex or nuanced semantics. In particular, I love seeing the game design equivalent of an oxymoron. You know, something that sounds contradictory at first, but makes sense in context. Combinations like guest host, old news, or living dead. I may have more to say about that last one really soon. One such example of a game design oxymoron involves the erosion and hologram jokers. Erosion incentivizes players to delete cards from their deck, giving them +4 multiplier for each card their deck is below the starting total, which is usually 52 cards. Hologram conversely gains 0.25 times multiplier for each card the player adds to their deck. Practically speaking, these two jokers are in conflict with one another. One wants you to add cards to your deck, the other wants you to remove them. But the funny thing is, you can make this pairing work. How? Well, as we like to say around here, the devil's in the details. Hologram doesn't look at your total card count. It only activates when cards are added to your deck and doesn't care what happens to said cards later. So as long as you delete more cards than you're adding to your deck, you can build up both erosion and hologram simultaneously. Oxymoronic play, if you will. I want to move on to discuss Balatro's roguelike language some more, but I would be remiss to just boil down these 150 jokers to just their impact on gameplay. The naming and graphic design of the jokers really adds a lot of creative flair and whimsy to this game. I especially like the rather diverse array of references, from art history to quantum physics to opera to all manner of cultural idioms, and of course to the survival of particular banana varieties. Anyhow, Balatro rounds out its roguelike language with its tarot and spectral cards. Like adjectives, these cards modify our nouns, our deck of playing cards. Tarot allows us to enhance playing cards into mult, bonus, gold, steel, glass, and stone cards. With these we can destroy cards, increase their rank, change their suit, or make a card into a copy of another. Spectral cards can enhance playing cards further with special editions and seals, more sweeping changes to suits and ranks, and to also modify our jokers. Planet cards and vouchers further expand our coverage of adverbs and adjectives. And with all this, Balatro thoroughly explores practically all of its possibility space. And Balatro is a critical and commercial success thanks to this very complete and expressive language. Quite simply, it's nearly a perfect roguelike. And yeah, I say nearly because I do have one significant critique here. No doubt Balatro did an excellent and detailed job providing a galaxy of adverbs and adjectives for its rather simple base of nouns and verbs, but if there's a place where Balatro could improve, it's in its grammar and terminology. What do I mean by this? Well, let's start with the simpler complaint, the terminology. Balatro sometimes stumbles when articulating some of its concepts, like, for instance, the overlapping meaning of hand. There's the poker hand, which is the 1 to 5 cards that you play up here, but held in hand effects refer to this pool of cards down here. Hand is also the term used for the number of turns you get in a blind. Other times, the game struggles to convey clearly and exactly how something works. This is most prevalent in the descriptions of jokers, which, understandably, don't want to use a lot of screen real estate to fully spell out how they work. Obelisk is an obvious choice here, but talking with folks, it's clear that the appeal of simpler jokers, like Green Joker, weren't immediately obvious. Coming back to the grammar, specifically I mean the order of operations when playing a hand, especially with different types of jokers. The left to right ordering is shown quite effectively, but it takes some experience to understand which jokers fire in what order. The way it goes is that there are jokers that proc per card played, then the in-hand effect jokers, then the global jokers. Sure, you'll learn this when you play enough Balatro, and if you're anything like me, that's really easy to do once it gets its hooks into you. Still, I think a little more tutorialization, better definitions, or just a bit more clear and upfront communication about the order of operations could really help the player make some more informed decisions and sooner understand the wondrous depths of this game. But rest assured, this is just a minor quibble with a game that is, well, quite outstanding. Balatro proves that developing a strong and highly expressive gameplay language is the key to roguelike resplendence. Expect to find it in my year-end best of list for sure, and until then, I will be cursing Local Thunk for beating me to the punch on the poker roguelike. You f***ing genius!